Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so today we do have another alliance war and it is against Demon. So this will be alliance war number 6. So far we are 4-1, 4 wins, 1 loss, and obviously we're still not out of the running for top 3, and we do have basically put ourselves in much worse position than we would like to be, and that means that we desperately want to win every single war remaining in this season. So right now we're going to be approaching the halfway point, and yeah, nothing's still over. Right, so for my own war, for all my own path, I am doing path 7 in section 1, and then I'm doing path 8 in section 2, and I do have a bit of mini boss action. So I'm going to be using Doom, Quake, and Human Torch, and let's get it rolling. So this war I joined relatively early as one of the first people to join from my battle group. We got our assignments slightly later than normal, but it's perfectly fine. First fight here is Blade. We are going up against Protect Global node, and this node is kind of like a bit notorious, and Blade is fairly a straightforward placement there. And it's also a very common placement because of kinetic transference. Obviously, you can get into a very, very nasty loop where Blade effectively just keeps on throwing special attacks back to back because his level 2 can't really be dexed fully. And yeah, if he gets to level 2, you are kind of in for a bad time. And also, power drain abilities are like 90% weaker in this quest. But Quake does it perfectly. Quake has absolutely no problems dealing with this land here, especially after the Stubborn is gone. Now, because Blade used to be Stubborn Defender, I believe, Quake was not really an option with that global node for this fight. But now, with no Stubborn, there's absolutely nothing stopping Quake from completely destroying this fight. Now, I'm not going to show it full. It's a just straightforward Quake fight, finished with a full yellow bar, not a single hit in a block, and wonderful, so we can move on to the next fight. So it's a very simple fight for Quake. Well, most fights are fairly simple. It's ironic I say that. Anyways, next fight we have here Power Bond, Matador, Sorcerer Supreme. Again, she does not get affected by Protect Global, so one thing less to worry about. And obviously I just brought in Human Torch, because yeah, this fight is going to be quite amusingly short. You can see that 9 hits in, what is it, 13 seconds have expired. She's already halfway down. Another 3-hit combo. She doesn't throw her special attack. She goes in for a parry. Fine. And that's it. That fight lasted like 23 seconds. So quick, so easy, so straightforward. And that was it for my contribution in tier 1. But I got asked if I want to do the Tiger fight on that Mixmaster Prowess node. And I'll be honest, like, well, first of all, this was later, just before I went to bed, so it's already getting a bit sleepy, but I'm not gonna make any excuses for my play. I got a bit careless here because of that Tigress unblockable special one. Now, typically, I'm kind of used to when I'm playing Tiger aggressive, when she dashes in, and if she doesn't throw that special one, it's a fairly straightforward affair, especially because we have power focus 1 here, so I never really have to bother baiting any special attacks. It's just kind of like, she wants to throw it, she does, she doesn't want to, it's fine. But if she activates a special attack when she's close by, she's not unblockable, and that was kind of like what took me off, because the second one, she was unblockable, and I actually ended up eating that level 1. Now, thankfully, obviously, class advantage boosts and all that other stuff. Human Torch survived it, and immediately destroyed that tiger. Still very straightforward fight, but embarrassing, shameful mistake, call it as you will. Definitely not a perfect fight. This fight was won by Human Torch, not by me, so to speak. And next up, now Path 8. Now, I actually hadn't really done much of Path 8 previously, if any. I was also looking at which mini-bosses I can take and which ones I want to deal with. And before I get there, obviously, I do have to deal with the Venom, with Aegon, and also the MODOK. I was considering whether I want to heal up Human Torch. And I decided for it because there was no specific assignments for anyone of those mini bosses, but there was Torch mentioned there, and I figured that, well, I might as well. Why not? So it probably would have been wiser for me not to heal up Human Torch and save myself these items, But, you know, you just want to have more fights, especially at hardware. So I was like, yeah, why not? I'll heal up Human Torch. Now, obviously, in hindsight, when hindsight's 2020, wasn't the best decision at all by any means, and probably would have been better off just save the potions that I don't really have. I'm perfectly fine with boosts, at the very least medium and smaller ones, but I'm not doing all that well with health potions, which could potentially be, well, a problem later on. So that is something I will need to reserve my units for. But fine, let's get to the actual fighting bit here. So Aegon, obviously we have this buff imbalance weakness where every time he gains a buff, I gain a weakness, and only way to get rid of them is to throw special attack. But at the same time, it's Dr. Doom, so even though I will be getting quite a lot of weaknesses, I will also be triggering my Mystic Dispersion left and right. And it's not going to be the quickest fight due to those weaknesses, but it's also not the riskiest or hardest fight. Actually, this kind of like strategy against Aegon is what I used in Abyss of Legends, where you just basically throw a level 2, wait for the Furies to expire, and you have another level 2. So you don't need to really do anything else. You don't need to have any unwanted surprises. We can see that, yeah, my hits are basically just level 2s back to back to back. But again, they do lose a lot of their oomph, so to speak, due to those weakness buffs, which are kind of annoying. But at no point, even though the fight itself isn't going exactly superbly quick, I'm at no obviously danger of timing out or anything like that. And yeah, it's all fine. I probably should have waited and just let those Furies expire there. But another level 2, and he's like in Assassin's range now. I do have 1 point in Assassins. And yeah, why not? It's, again, not the quickest fight, but definitely not the hardest one either, so to speak. So I'm going to go for another level 1 and then finish. And then he throws his level 1, which is fine, fair play. I'm just going to go and finish the fight off. I probably could have and perhaps should have done it quicker, but either way. Very straightforward fight for Dr. Doom, feeding that Mystic Dispersion like crazy. Now we have Venom, and again, Dr. Doom is going to do a great job. Now we do have Rich Get Richer, which would be scary with Venom, technically, kind of. But since you end up nullifying all the buffs with Dr. Doom anyways, it really doesn't play all that much of a role. And the key here is pretty much just get to my level 1, and then we are good to go, because he has no buffs left. And when neither you or opponents have buffs, or if you have equal amount of buffs, then nobody gets that power gain. And after I'm going to drop my level 3, I'm going to have Fury buff active, he's going to have no buffs active, and I will actually be getting some extra power from the Rich Gets Richer node. Now I do need to obviously be careful about Protect Global, because I can't trigger it. Venom is extra large defender, but it shouldn't make that much of an impact because the fight is already kind of like close to an end. So you can see I triggered Protect there with my heavy attack, which crit. So he's going to take less special 3 damage, but it's fine. The fight is still perfectly in control. And so are we as an alliance. We were winning this war. It wasn't the closest war. At any given point, we were ahead at least a couple of kills, pretty much as I remember. But this fight actually threw me off, and this is my first death of this season. In theory, this fight's perfectly fine, and realistically, I should not have died. The reason for dying is because I got a bit thrown off because he was triggering that power gain even though I went in heavy attack immediately as I was dashing back. And several times he triggered the power gain despite me having the concussion on. So what I should have done is I should have just ignored his power meter. Because you can see here, I ate that level 1, and at this point he's at another level 1, and I knew what I have to do. I'm gonna eat at level 1, whatever it crits, and now he has no power, I'm in a corner, and everything's fine. Now keep in mind, he can still trigger that Powerful from Afar buff because he has increased ability accuracy. But still, this is basically the problem that I had with this fight. I should have just ignored his power level, and then I would be able to eat one level 1 and do the rest of the fight perfectly fine. Because I got a bit confused and distracted, I definitely didn't play the fight well. Now, at this point, again, the fight's perfectly winnable. I'm at 26% health, So long as I don't take any hits in the block, don't do any stupid mistakes, I have this fight in the bag. But part of my brain is consistently looking at MODOK and checking if he gets that powerful from afar buff or he doesn't. Because here I cannot eat any more level 1s, I will die. And we can see that he gained that powerful from afar there once again. And at the very, very end here, I make a stupid mistake. I let go of my heavy attack, and that ends up killing me with 2 hits straight up and forward. So that is quite an embarrassing thing, but, you know, things happen. I am just happy that this wasn't like a close war, because we ended up winning this war anyways, and it didn't really change much in the grand scheme of things of the individual war. But currently, every KO significantly disadvantages us as an alliance. And yeah, needless to say, I did these fights very early in the morning, and that pretty much ruined my day, man. I was so upset with myself. Not because I died necessarily, well, not just because I died, but because also it has implications on this entire season. Because now, the way the alliance wars are, every KO is so meaningful. Because even if your alliance is nearby how the same amount of wins and losses, then the position's decided by a number of KOs. And we just need to do better. And yeah, I genuinely got pissed off with myself, especially because I got that fight back under control. I got that fight back under control, and it was for me to finish, and I messed up at the very, very end like an complete idiot. But I can't beat up myself forever. And now looking at it, I was actually planning to do the Immortal Hulk and MODOK mini bosses, because they were assigned for Quake and Torch, respectively. But since I can't deal with Immortal Hulk anymore, because I don't want to revive and full heal Quake, because why would I for like one fight? I am just going to go and deal with this Mojo mini-boss. And Mojo is going to be a straightforward fight here. He has enhanced special 1, but also power focus, which I absolutely love on opponents, because you can just abandon the idea of trying to bait out special attacks and all will be well. Also, since this is the very last fight that I'm going to be taking, I'm going to activate the pre-fight ability to give myself some extra damage. And since I do have some boost tactile, I'm really not worried about this Mojo at all. But of course I start the fight with eating a heavy attack. Anyways, all is well. And the plan here is, yeah, just straightforward. Just do 2-3 hit combos. Don't trigger decks. And be happy, go lucky. If he throws level 1, there is a good argument for me that it's probably going to be better to try and eat it. Again, because kind of like, why not? That level 1 does hardly any damage, and it has like 6 or 7 hits, so he would get a chunk of incinerates, and he would suffer for throwing that level 1 more than I would, I think. But anyways, he doesn't want to throw his level 1, and he's dead in like 40 seconds, man. Human Torch just absolutely destroys these guys. Now, I didn't take a screenshot at the end, but we did end up winning the war like 11-5 or something. So we didn't do as bad as our war before, but on a personal note, obviously, as well, I was extremely disappointed with my own performance in that fight, because the fight, again, it's not a hard fight. You just need to go in that fight and knowing that perhaps you're going to eat level 1 and ignore opponent's power. Had I just done that, I would have ended up eating 1 level 1, and that's it. Because MODOK's level 1 doesn't really do anything. It doesn't put bleeds, it doesn't put incinerates, it doesn't stun you. You can just quite honestly eat a level 1, you're not going to die from it, stick in the corner, and you're going to be perfectly fine. And that power gain buff, because I was kind of like fascinated working and looking at it, and it really drew most of my attention away from the entire fight, just looking at that power gain buff, and that is what kind of messed me over a bit. So now that I know, I feel very comfortable doing that fight again. I just do my regular thing, and if he gets level 1, that's fine. And that is the idea, if you want to Quake that MODOK there, that you should enter the fight with. So long as you're prepared, it wouldn't even confuse you much. But anyways, a death is a death, and it's not end of the world. Just need to make sure I don't have another for the rest of the season, hopefully. And yeah, again, at least this death didn't ultimately change the result of the war. So that is it for today. Not the best war, but it happens. And let's see how I do for remainder of the season. 6 wars to go. See ya. proceed with. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about